First contact and tensions rise. The vast emptiness of space was shattered by a brilliant flash of light. The experimental human starship Odyssey emerged from its first successful faster-than-light jump, its gleaming hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Sarah Chen exhaled slowly, her grip on the command chair armrests finally relaxing. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "All systems nominal, Captain," replied Lieutenant Rodriguez from the operations console. "We've successfully completed our jump to the Proxima Centauri system." A cheer erupted from the bridge crew. Humanity had taken its first step into interstellar space, and the implications were staggering. As the initial excitement died down, the crew focused on their tasks, running diagnostics and beginning to survey their surroundings. It was Dr. Aisha Malik, the ship's xenobiologist, who first noticed the anomaly. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the third planet in the system. It doesn't match any natural phenomena we're familiar with." Captain Chen leaned forward, her interest piqued. "On screen, Doctor." The main view screen flickered to life, showing an azure world with swirling white clouds. But what caught everyone's attention was the faint, shimmering field surrounding the planet, a clear sign of advanced technology. "It seems we're not alone out here," Chen murmured, a mix of excitement and apprehension in her voice. "Communications, broadcast our first contact protocols on all frequencies." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then, without warning, a massive ship materialized in front of the Odyssey. It dwarfed the human vessel, its sleek design unlike anything they had ever seen. A transmission crackled through the speakers, the universal translator struggling to keep up. "Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately." Captain Chen took a deep breath and stood, straightening her uniform. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Odyssey. We come in peace and seek peaceful contact with your people." There was a long pause before the alien ship responded. "Understood, Earth ship. Prepare to be boarded for inspection. Any resistance will be met with force." The crew exchanged worried glances, but Chen nodded grimly. "Understood. We will comply." As the alien ship extended a docking tube, Chen addressed her crew. "Remember your training. We represent all of humanity here. Let's make a good first impression." The airlock hissed open, revealing 3 tall, reptilian beings. Their scales shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and their eyes, 3 on each side of their elongated heads, blinked in unison as they surveyed the humans. The lead alien stepped forward, its voice a low hiss. "I am Commander Zexkrol of the Draconian Imperium. Your presence here is unexpected and potentially problematic." Captain Chen bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "We apologize for any intrusion, Commander. We are on a mission of peaceful exploration and scientific discovery." Zexkrol's eyes narrowed. "A likely story. Your kind are not known to us, yet you possess jump technology. This is concerning." Dr. Malik stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "We've only just developed this technology. In fact, this is our first journey beyond our solar system. We're eager to learn about other civilizations and share knowledge." The Draconian commander regarded her coldly. "Knowledge can be dangerous, especially in the wrong hands. Your ship and its technology will be impounded for further study. You'll be taken to our homeworld for questioning." Captain Chen's diplomatic smile faltered. "With all due respect, Commander, we cannot allow you to seize our ship or detain our crew. We have rights as a sovereign species." Zexkrol let out a harsh laugh. "Rights? You have no standing in the galactic community, humans. You will comply or face the consequences." The tension on the bridge was palpable. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper, the ship's tactical officer, subtly moved his hand towards the weapons console. Chen caught his eye and gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. They were outgunned and in unknown territory. Diplomacy was their only option for now. "Perhaps we can reach a compromise," Chen suggested, her mind racing. We would be happy to share information about our culture and technology in a controlled setting. In exchange, we request the same courtesy from your people. The Draconians seem to consider this for a moment. Your offer is intriguing. However, the decision is not mine alone to make. You will accompany us to the Galactic Council. They will determine your fate. As the Odyssey was tractored into the massive hangar bay of the Draconian ship, the crew worked feverishly to encrypt and hide as much sensitive data as possible. They knew that the fate of Earth itself might depend on how they handled this first contact situation. The Galactic Council's ultimatum. Captain Chen stood tall, her voice ringing out clear and strong in the council chambers. Esteemed councillors, I understand your concerns. The unknown can be frightening, but I ask you to look beyond your fear and see the potential that stands before you. She gestured to her crew, each chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to represent the diversity of humanity. We humans have a saying, unity in diversity. Our strength comes from our differences, our ability to see things from multiple perspectives and find innovative solutions. We could bring that same strength to your council. The energy being that led the council pulsed thoughtfully. An interesting perspective, Captain. But how can we trust that your people will not upset the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia? Chen smiled, a plan forming in her mind. Trust is earned, Councillor. We propose a probationary period. Allow us to establish an embassy here, to learn your ways and share our own. In return, we will open our solar system to a delegation from the Council. Let us prove ourselves through actions, not just words. The council chambers erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, some supportive, others vehemently opposed. The lead councillor raised a tendril of energy, silencing the room. Your proposal has merit, human. We will deliberate and render our decision. As the human delegation was escorted from the chambers, Lieutenant Commander Harper leaned in close to Chen. Do you think they'll go for it, Captain? Chen's expression was grim. They'd better. I don't like our alternatives. Hours passed as the crew of the Odyssey waited anxiously. Finally, they were summoned back to the council chambers. The atmosphere was tense as they entered, the alien representatives watching them with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. The lead councillor's energy form pulsed as it spoke. Captain Chen, we have reached a decision. Your proposal for a probationary period is accepted, with conditions. Chen nodded, relief washing over her. We're listening, Councillor. You will be allowed to establish a small embassy on this station. In return, a council delegation will be sent to your homeworld. However, there is one additional requirement. The captain's relief turned to apprehension, and that is, you must prove your worth to the galactic community. We have a problem that has been vexing us for some time. A hostile species known as a swarm has been encroaching on the borders of council space. Your task is to find a way to stop them. Chen's eyes widened. You're asking us to fight a war for you. The insectoid councillor chittered loudly. Not necessarily. We've tried brute force. It failed. We need a new approach. You humans claim to be innovative. Prove it. And if we refuse? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The energy being's form darkened. Then you will be deemed a potential threat and dealt with accordingly. You have one standard galactic year to show progress. This is our final offer. Captain Chen looked at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. She turned back to the council, her voice steady. We accept your terms, councillors. Humanity will not let you down. As they left the chambers, Dr. Malik whispered, Captain, how are we supposed to stop an alien invasion when we've barely left our own solar system? Chen's lips quirked in a harsh smile. The same way humanity has always faced its challenges, Doctor. With ingenuity, determination, and a healthy dose of audacity. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. A small human embassy was established on the council station, staffed by a mix of diplomats and scientists from the Odyssey. Meanwhile, The ship itself prepared for its journey back to Earth, tasked with briefing the world's leaders on the monumental changes coming their way. As they made final preparations to depart, they received their first piece of good news. The Council had agreed to allow a small contingent of human scientists and diplomats to study the archives, learning about the various species that made up the galactic community, including their new enemy, the Swarm. Humanity's ingenious response. Captain Chen stood before the holographic projection of the Galactic Council, her posture confident despite the butterflies in her stomach. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and she was determined not to let her species down. Esteemed counselors, she began, her voice steady. 1 year ago, you tasked humanity with proving our worth by finding a solution to the Swarm threat. Today, I stand before you to present our findings and our proposed strategy. The lead counselor's energy form pulsed with interest. We are listening, Captain Chen. Impress us. Chen nodded to Dr. Malik, who stepped forward with a holographic display of her own. Counselors, our research has led us to a crucial discovery about the nature of the Swarm. They are not a single species, but a collective of genetically engineered organisms linked by a sophisticated hive mind. The insectoid counselor chittered excitedly. This is known to us, human. How does restating established facts help your case? Chen held up a hand, her expression calm. Please, allow us to continue. While the hive mind is the Swarm's greatest strength, we believe it is also their greatest weakness. Dr. Malik manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a complex molecular structure. This is the neural interface that allows the Swarm to maintain their collective consciousness. We've developed a device that can generate a targeted electromagnetic pulse, disrupting this interface and effectively severing the connection between Swarm units. A murmur ran through the council chamber. The energy being leaned forward, its form flickering rapidly. If this is true, it could change the entire nature of the conflict. But how can we be certain it will work? Chen's lips quirked in a small smile. We anticipated that question, counselors. We request permission to conduct a field test against a small Swarm incursion. We believe this will demonstrate the effectiveness of our solution while minimizing potential risks. The council erupted into heated debate. Some members were eager to see the human solution in action, while others argued that it was too risky to allow an untested species to engage the Swarm directly. Finally, after what felt like hours, the lead counselor raised a tendril of energy for silence. We have reached a decision. Humanity will be allowed to conduct their field test, but under strict supervision from council forces. You will have one opportunity to prove the effectiveness of your device. Should you fail, the consequences will be severe. Chen bowed slightly. We understand and accept your terms, counselors. Humanity will not let you down. As the holographic projection faded, Chen turned to her team. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're going to war. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity as Earth prepared for its first interstellar military operation. The prototype disruptor device was quickly refined and mass-produced, while a small fleet of ships was outfitted with the latest technology developed by the TDI. Captain Chen found herself in command of this expedition, her flagship the newly christened TDS Defiant. As they prepared to depart, she addressed the crew from the bridge. I won't lie to you. What we're about to do is incredibly dangerous. We're facing an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for centuries, and we're doing it with untested technology. But I have faith in each and every one of you, and in the ingenuity and determination of humanity. Together, we will show the galaxy what Earth is truly capable of. A cheer went up from the crew, their enthusiasm infectious. As the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity was taking its first real steps onto the galactic stage, and they were determined to make a grand entrance. They emerged from their jump in a remote star system on the fringes of Council space. A small Swarm fleet was attacking a mining colony, providing the perfect opportunity for their field test. Chen's voice rang out across the bridge. All ships, this is Captain Chen. deploy disruptors and engage the enemy. Let's show them what humanity can do. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships darted and weaved between the larger swarm vessels, their agility surprising even their council observers. When the disruptors activated, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Swarm ships that had been moving with eerie synchronization suddenly began to flail wildly, colliding with each other or drifting aimlessly in space. Without their hive mind to coordinate them, the fearsome swarm was reduced to a chaotic mess. "It's working," Dr. Malik exclaimed, her eyes wide as she monitored the data streaming in. "The neural interfaces are completely scrambled." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent. All ships, move in and neutralize the remaining targets. Let's clean this up." The alien invasion begins. The return journey to Earth was tense, filled with hushed conversations and furtive planning. Captain Chen knew that the moment they arrived home, everything would change. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge yet, and they needed to be prepared. As the Defiant dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Sol system, Chen's worst fears were realized. A massive fleet of council ships hung in orbit around Earth, their weapons primed and ready. "Battle stations," Chen barked, her crew scrambling to comply. "Comms, get me a channel to Earth Defense Command now." The view screen flickered to life, showing the grim face of Admiral Jihan Zakaria, the head of Earth's newly formed Space Force. "Captain Chen, thank God you're here. The Council fleet arrived 2 days ago, demanding our immediate surrender and compliance with their containment order." Chen's jaw clenched. "And our response?" A fierce light gleamed in the Admiral's eyes. "We told them where they could shove their containment order. We've been in a standoff ever since, but I don't think it'll last much longer." As if on cue, alarms blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Rodriguez called out from his station, multiple ships breaking formation. "They're on an attack vector." Chen's mind raced. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one advantage. The Council didn't know about their new shield technology, reverse-engineered from studying the swarm's defenses. "All ships, activate Phantom shields," Chen ordered. "Earth Defense Command, be ready to deploy the planetary shield on my mark." The Council ships opened fire, their energy weapons lancing out towards Earth and the much smaller human fleet. But instead of the expected devastation, their beams seemed to pass right through their targets, causing no damage. Confusion reigned in the Council fleet. Their sensors showed direct hits, but there was no visible effect. They didn't realize that the Phantom shields were bending light and energy around the human ships and the planet, making them appear vulnerable while keeping them completely safe. Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Now it's our turn. All ships, target their propulsion systems. Let's clip their wings." The human fleet sprang into action, their own weapons finding their marks with pinpoint accuracy. Council ships began to drift, their engines disabled by the precise strikes. On the Council flagship, the draconian commander Zexkrol watched in disbelief as his fleet was systematically dismantled by a supposedly primitive species. "Impossible," he hissed. "How are they doing this?" Back on the Defiant, Chen opened a channel to the Council fleet. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. Your unprovoked attack on our homeworld has failed. We ask that you stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Any further aggression will be met with lethal force." For a tense moment, there was no response. Then, grudgingly, the Council ships began powering down their weapons. The invasion had been thwarted before it could truly begin. As human ships moved in to secure the disabled Council vessels, Chen turned to her crew. "Well done, everyone, but this is just the beginning. We've won the battle, but the war is far from over." In the days that followed, Earth became a hive of activity. The captured Council ships provided a wealth of advanced technology and intelligence. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand and adapt these new resources. Meanwhile, diplomats were hard at work. Dr. Malik's suggestion of forming alliances with more sympathetic council species was put into action. Secret communications were established with representatives from races that had shown hesitation about the containment order. 2 weeks after the failed invasion, Captain Chen found herself once again standing before the United Nations Security Council, this time accompanied by Admiral Zakaria. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, "the galaxy now knows that humanity will not go quietly into the night. We've demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves, but we must now decide our next move carefully." Admiral Zakaria stepped forward. "Our military position is strong, but we can't hope to stand against the entire council indefinitely. We need a diplomatic solution, humanity's counterattack." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity as Earth prepared for its most audacious mission yet. Every available ship was mobilized, loaded with the latest weapons and defenses born from their recent technological leap. The plan was as daring as it was desperate, a simultaneous strike on multiple Council core worlds, demonstrating humanity's reach and resolve. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, now the flagship of humanity's makeshift armada. She looked out at the assembled fleet, a mix of retrofitted civilian ships and the few military vessels Earth had managed to construct since first contact. It wasn't much compared to the vast forces of the Council, but it would have to be enough. "All ships report ready," Captain Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, his voice tight with tension. Chen nodded, taking a deep breath. "Send the signal. Operation Prometheus is go." Across the fleet, FTL drives spooled up. In a flash of light, humanity's last hope vanished from Earth's skies, leaving behind a planet holding its collective breath. The journey to Council space was tense. Every crew member knew that they were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Their only advantages were surprise and the Council's underestimation of human capabilities. As they approached their first target, the draconian homeworld of Sorath, Chen addressed the fleet. "Men and women of Earth, today we fight not just for our own survival, but for our right to exist as equals in this galaxy. The Council would see us chained, our potential squandered. We're here to show them that humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day." A cheer went up across the comm channels. As one, the human fleet dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Sorath system. Alarms blared across the draconian defense platforms. They had never expected an attack on their homeworld, let alone from the supposedly contained humans. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. "Deploy the Genesis warheads," Chen ordered. From the belly of several ships, specially designed missiles launched towards Sorath's barren moons. Upon impact, they released a payload quite different from traditional weapons. Clouds of nanobots spread across the lunar surfaces, beginning the terraforming process at an accelerated rate. On Sorath, Zex Kral watched in disbelief as the dead moons that had hung in their sky for millennia began to change before his eyes. Atmosphere formed, water appeared, and the first hints of green began to spread across the once lifeless rocks. "Impossible," he hissed, but he couldn't deny the evidence of his own eyes. Chen's voice boomed across all frequencies. "People of Sorath, we come not as conquerors, but as neighbors. Look to your skies and see what humanity can offer the galaxy. We can turn dead worlds into gardens, expand the habitable frontier of the galaxy. All we ask in return is to be treated as equals." Before the stunned Draconians could respond, the human fleet jumped away, their FTL signatures masked by new stealth technology. Their next target, the Quatron homeworld. As news of the attack spread, the Council was thrown into chaos. Emergency sessions were called, accusations flew, and battle fleets were mobilized. But the humans were always one step ahead, appearing just long enough to demonstrate their newfound power before vanishing again. On the factory world of Metis Prime, home of the machine-like Nexus Collective, Chen unveiled another surprise. Instead of terraforming, the human fleet deployed swarms of advanced repair nanites. Within hours, centuries of industrial decay were reversed, restoring the planet's ecosystem while enhancing its productive capabilities. The Nexus Collective, long considered one of the more conservative council races, found their positronic networks buzzing with new possibilities. The humans had done in a day what they had deemed impossible for eons. As the human fleet jumped from system to system, their actions began to have an effect beyond mere military impact. On dozens of worlds, populations that had long accepted the Council's rigid hierarchy began to question the status quo. If the humans could achieve so much in so little time, what else was possible? But the Council's hardliners were not going to give up easily. As Chen's fleet appeared in the arboreal home system, they found themselves face to face with the gathered might of the Council Armada. Thousands of ships filled the space around Arborea, their weapons trained on the much smaller human fleet. At their head was the draconian dreadnought Eternal Flame, commanded by none other than Zexapro himself, victory and a new galactic order. The days following the standoff at Sorath were a whirlwind of diplomacy, negotiation, and cautious celebration. As news of the averted crisis spread across the galaxy, the political landscape shifted dramatically. The old council structure, built on fear and control, was crumbling. In its place, a new order was emerging, one that promised cooperation and mutual growth. Captain Sarah Chen found herself at the center of it all. As the face of humanity's audacious stand against the Council, she had become a symbol of change throughout the galaxy. It was a role she neither expected nor particularly wanted, but one she knew she had to embrace for the sake of her species and the new allies they had made. 2 weeks after the Sorath incident, Chen stood before the newly formed Galactic Assembly on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from every spacefaring race in the known galaxy had gathered to chart a course for the future. The tension in the air was palpable as Chen took the podium. Distinguished representatives, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We stand at a crossroads. The old ways of the Council have been shown to be unsustainable. Fear of the unknown, of change, nearly drove us to mutual destruction. But we have been given a second chance, an opportunity to build something better. She paused, looking out over the sea of alien faces. Some were familiar now. The branch-like appendages of the arboreals, the multiple eyes of the quatrons, the shimmering data patterns of the Nexus Collective. Others were still strange and new, but all were united in their attention to her words. Humanity comes before you not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as partners. We have shown you what we can do, the dead worlds we can bring to life, the technologies we can develop. But we know that each of you has your own strengths, your own unique perspectives to offer. It is only by working together, by sharing our knowledge and respecting our differences, that we can hope to face the challenges that lie ahead. A murmur ran through the assembly. Chen pressed on, her voice gaining strength. We propose a new galactic charter, one that enshrines the rights of all sentient species to self-determination and technological development, one that encourages cooperation and cultural exchange rather than isolation and stagnation, one that looks to the stars not with fear of what we might find, but with hope for what we might become. As Chen laid out the details of the proposed charter, she could see the impact of her words. The arboreal's branches swayed in what she had learned was a sign of agreement. The quatron's eyes blinked in rapid sequence, indicating deep thought and consideration. Even the draconians, represented by a subdued Zexcrawl, seemed to be listening intently. When she finished, there was a moment of silence. Then, slowly at first, but with growing enthusiasm, the assembly erupted in a cacophony of approval. Species that had been bitter enemies for millennia were finding common ground in this vision of a more open, dynamic galaxy. The debate and negotiation that followed lasted for days. Every point of the new charter was scrutinized, argued over, and refined. Chen found herself in the role of mediator more often than not, drawing on all her diplomatic skills to bridge gaps and find compromises. Finally, After a marathon 36-hour final session, the new Galactic Charter was ratified. As Chen watched representatives from across the galaxy sign the document, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment tinged with trepidation. They had taken the first step, but the real work was just beginning. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation. The Genesis project, once a desperate gambit, became the cornerstone of a massive cooperative effort. Terraforming teams, combining human ingenuity with alien expertise, spread out across the galaxy, bringing life to dead worlds and hope to overcrowded species.